Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. So many of us haven't met for a long time. Happy to answer questions. It's like the fewer satsangs we have, the fewer questions. That is telling me something. Etienne wants to come.
I have no question. I just feel to express my deepest gratitude for the beautiful company and caring you are for us. Also through the contemplations you share every morning. Because even if I cannot always be there, just this presence of the Sangha, of the sharing of the Sangha, is a thing I could not. I was dreaming in my deepest unconscious dreams, or somehow conscious for some time, but to see the resonance of in every heart of the same is just the biggest confirmation and joy. So I know I'm speaking on behalf of many, and many have expressed it already, but I just felt it to express it today. And the universality of your sharing in the heart is just honey.
Thank you so much.
Bless you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Yes, it is true that I get many reports about the beautiful contemplations. I've had the pleasure of being in some of them as well and hearing all of you, but many have not been able to join, especially in this time. But I've been getting reports about how the Sangha is really helping each other grow in the light, in the heart, deepen in God's presence. And it's very beautiful, and also is very natural for those who are starting to live in the heart to spread that light very naturally without any pretense or any specialness, to really share from that light, from that presence. It's a very natural functioning of the light itself. So I'm very grateful to all of you in Sangha who have participated in this way during the time that I have been away as well, and supporting each other in this way. So through Guruji's grace, through God's grace, it's very beautiful to see the Sangha and this supportive infrastructure in a way, sharing each other's light and sometimes giving the space for another to just share their concerns, share their problems, seeming problems at that point of time. It gives everyone an opportunity to unload and offload what's on them. So that's also helpful. So thank you all of you. And of course, I encourage all of you to participate in this way so that we can all deepen in God's light, grow in the holy presence, the holy Sadguru presence within us. The more empty you are, empty to self-interest, empty to individual will, the more you will deepen in this holy presence. The only thing that seems to get in the way is when we try to make this a dance between me and God. we try to make it a special relationship between me and God. What is truly needed is for one to die to oneself while they are still alive. Become empty to everything that you take yourself to be. It was never true to begin with. So, although it may seem like a big sacrifice when we start, in actuality, it's nothing. I'm not undermining that it can seem like it is a lot, but in reality, it is nothing. And to go from that idea of having to surrender everything to seeing that you have not lost anything. In fact, you have given yourself the greatest gift possible in this human condition, is also the path from head to heart. Because in the head, it will seem like a lot. In our heads, it will seem like a lot for us to sacrifice. But in reality, it is nothing. I'm struggling with my throat a bit, and maybe it will pick up as we go along. Let me see if there's something to be fixed in the audio. All right, so I was just saying that in actuality, the biggest sacrifice is not a sacrifice at all. And to our heads, it will seem like you have to give up everything that you have valued. But actually, we have only valued that which has been valueless. And to come to true value, to come to true meaning, is a letting go of all that which is false. Nobody who has gone through this process has come to the end of it and regretted it and said, let me have my attachments back. I would rather have my attachments back and let go of that which I'm finding. Nobody has done that. Of course, during the process, all of you have tantrums of some sort or the other. And that's to be expected. The simple way to let go of all of your conditioning is to make the project really simple. And all you have to do at any point of time is let go of your next thought. It is only through the belief and identification with your next thought will you take on the false identity. So this, which seems like a lot to do, then becomes very granular. And all you have to do, your one job, is to allow that next thought to come and go in your mind without giving it any value or meaning. In this way, This is actually the simplest sadhana that anyone can do. And empty in this way, open and empty in this way, your presence, God's presence within you is apparent. And that which is aware of God's presence within you is also apparent. So, a very simple question to ask yourself is, what is this for? What you're concerning yourself with, what is it for? Bring your attention to what is presently concerning you or your last concern. Was it concern about God? On God's behalf, I mean? Of your next thought, thought. Let go of your next thought. Because your thoughts are claiming a non-existent me. Your thoughts are creating, with your belief, the illusion of one who doesn't exist. And we live in neglect of the one who is in our heart. Who is the one who is in your heart right now? I am submitting to you and proposing to you that that is God's presence. What will you do with this information? It should actually shake up our life. If it is true what I'm saying, then our life should be changed forever. Because the one that lives in our heart, if that is the highest being in the universe, then all our concerns about our life and our relationships and our security and our money, all of them are nonsensical because God is in your heart. Now, why would what I'm saying not be true? What intention would I have to share lies with you? There is no intention here to share lies with you. I have no intention of fooling you or defrauding you in any way. I just have to be true to my own discovery, which is God's presence in my heart. And I'm compelled to share that with you as well. Now, you may say that he's not a liar, but maybe he is deluded. But that is a risk that you have to take. That is a risk that you have to take. So, and that's not a small risk. You have to bet your life on it. See? You have to bet your life on it. Because only when you take that risk of betting your entire life, that you can become empty to yourself and live in God's light, to live in God's presence. So this is the worst case scenario. So that you got stuck with a deluded strange man who's pointing to God's light in your heart, and you risk your life on it, and it turned out to be fake or fraud. But I would propose to you that the greatness of what you could discover, the greatness of what you could discover versus what you take yourself to be at the moment. See? The greatness of that which is actually here is fully taking even that risk. It's fully worth taking even that risk. Because if you have a chance, even a sliver of the slightest chance in this world to come to God's light, we must take that risk fully. Otherwise, in all the other scenarios, we are rushing towards our death anyway. There is nothing else that you can attain here that show you eternal light, your eternal life. So, given the possibility or the promise of what is to be found, a sacrifice of your self-interest is definitely worthwhile. Even if your mind's doubt is true that I may be deluded. You see? But if you are convinced that I'm not a liar and I'm not deluded, and it is true that God lives in your heart, then how can you rest a single moment without this discovery? Okay, we'll go to this. Hand came up spontaneously, so I want to hear what she's saying.
I feel to share that I know what you speak of is true.
Yes.
So I fully trust you. And I know that you're not deluded.
Thank you. Thank you. Very sweet. Thank you.
And it's such a beauty to know this. And it's worth to offer everything for this.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. May your faith, may your trust allow you to let go of all that is egoic, all that is limited, and allow you to live this life, which is an eternal life in God's light. If you truly can have this faith, then the obstacles created by the mind will not have that much potency. And your life then will be led in God's light, in God's holy presence. And that is the only way to live. It's the only way to live. So, please say.
Thank you. Yes. Today I also sat with a little contemplation, like there is only God. And I just dissolved in that. There is no separation, no.
Yes. There is only God. There is always only God. And yet in God's own design, under the hypnosis of the mind, in God's own design, under the hypnosis of the mind, God itself plays as if there is a limitation or a limited self that is here. That is the power of Maya. That is the game of this Leela. To free ourselves from that hypnosis of the mind is the main job. Our main job in this human condition is to free ourselves from this Leela and to live in God's light. I have been calling a life which is empty of this a zombie life. You see, and the word is too stark. But actually, I find it's a good one to use because truly without God's light, our life is lifeless.
And there is only pain without this realization. The only way to live without pain is to be fully with God.
And just a little nuance that I can add, if you'll allow me, is to say that physical pain may still continue in the body, but suffering, see, it's not possible in God's light. It's not possible to suffer. So psychological pain, suffering, all that which needs our mind to impose upon us the false limitations, that is not possible living in God's light.
Thank you.
So welcome. So happy to hear you.
Yes, me too. So happy to speak and to confirm this.
Very good, very good, very good.
Thank you.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
Too.
So we don't have to wait for an awakening experience. We don't have to wait for enlightenment. We can actually forget about all of those things. Because they trap us in a spiritual me, a spiritual ego, which thinks that enlightenment will be its end goal. So let your master worry about your enlightenment. You have one job, which is to live in the planet of your heart. Live in the realm which is God's realm. It is too hot in your head anyway. It's not worth it. It's too hot there. And I don't just mean anger or lust or that or those things which we usually associate, but even guilt, unworthiness, pride, to venture into our head now that we know that God's abode is in our heart, is just asking for trouble. There is no need to invite that. Just because you built a house there or tried to build a house there which was comfortable doesn't mean you have to finish the project now that you found a better place to live. It might sound like a simplistic metaphor, but you must let go of the false house immediately. Now that a truer place has been shown to you, and it is clear to me that there is no time to waste. There's no time to waste sitting and resolving things in your head, finding the right bricks for the wrong house. That's what most of us are doing in trying to construct our life in the perfect way. We're looking for the right bricks, but the house itself is wrong. Your true home is waiting for you. True home is waiting for you. And this is what I'm saying. Upon receiving this information, and for most of you, upon having this insight, not just information, your life must change. So what is the lack of faith? Either there is a lack of faith that what you are discovering is not the God. In spite of your masters telling you that it is the only one. For what do we need to rely on ourselves? For what do we need to live on our own terms and not live in God's will? What will you get out of it? You think you will have a better time in a house that is burning already? So it is actually absurd to live a egoic life. And that is why Maya is so strange. It's absurd. Given what I have said, who would want to live in the head? What would make it worthwhile? Tell me. If you had the best relationships in the world, if you had the most money in the world, if everybody took you to be the most special person in this universe, if you had an immortal body, if you built a time machine and could travel anywhere in time and space, what is it that you will do in this world which is more worthwhile than what I'm telling you, what I'm showing you? For most of us, it is just silly notions like balance, everything in moderation, which may be okay for the body, but is not okay for you. My feeling is to infect you all deeply with this love for God. So the idea to hold on to the hellish state of individuality along with an occasional taste of God's presence. You let go of these ideas to make something out of yourself. These are the chains around yourself. Can you imagine? The most popular idea in the world that I must make something out of myself is the biggest chain around you if you give it belief. And most in the world are also doing spirituality in this way. So many seemingly spiritual reports. There is no talk of God, Guru, Self. It's just about how I am doing. I am doing better like this. I am doing worse like that. How is that spirituality? See, so stay away from the individualistic spiritual ego, which is a very alluring trap as well. Empty yourself. Without life, without true life, without God's light. Your life is not life anyway. So, for those who feel that they have not come to the discovery of God's light within them, that only means that you cannot confirm right now that there is an unexplainable presence within you. How many of you can confirm right now that there is an unexplainable to the mind presence within you? Can confirm it. Huh? Huh? That there is. There is an unexplainable presence which we say confirms that I am, that is within us. If it does not seem apparent, then you must let go of everything else inwardly. Become an inner sadhu, an inner renunciate, whereas outwardly the play of life may continue how it has to. But may nothing else be in your focus except this discovery, because this is the only valuable discovery in the human condition. And for those of you who feel that this presence is apparent to you now, remember that this life belongs to that presence anyway. Live from there. Allow that presence to move you. Allow that presence to guide you. That is to live in God's will. These two are the foundations of true spirituality. Coming to clear, intuitive insight about God's light, and then living in the will of that light. And in this light, the highest source, the truest insight about who we are, is available so simply that you will wonder how you used to struggle to find out who you are. The highest insight is only possible through the Sadguru presence within you, which is the holder of your intuitive insights. That presence within you is God's presence. That light within you is the only light there is. This Atma is not different from Paramatma. To recognize your Atma is to make your life worth living. So stop wasting time on but what about that? But what about this? Nothing about any of that. Inwardly be fully empty, outwardly let the world play as it has to. And there is nobody in the world who has ever said that when they were working under the delusion of controlling their life, they did a better job than when they were empty. There's nobody who has ever testified to that. Otherwise, Master Bankai would never have said that all things are perfectly resolved in the unborn. So if your control only makes it worse, then why are you making things worse for yourself? Why don't you just let go? Is your control that important to you? I want to tell you that there is no such thing. It is illusory. A non-existent one can only have non-existent control. You who do not exist cannot exert any control over your life. And the only existent one is the one that lives in your heart, is already the light of this universe. So snap out of the rubbish about, but what about this, and what about money, and what about relationships? It's the same old stuff anyway. The matter is very urgent because you're running out of time. Every day the mind has a new offer for you. And soon, day by day, we will come to the end of our life. And then there will be no time for this. So how do you live this life? A lot of you have this question, and in my travels, I encountered this question more openly. So I have a simple tip for you after all the broad guidance. As you start your day, don't get out of bed unless you are in God's light. Don't leave the bed, no matter what. First come to do whatever it takes for on different days and different temperaments, different things seem to work. For some self-inquiry works, for some self-surrender works, for somebody chanting works, for somebody some pranayam works, whatever works, I don't care. I'm completely agnostic to that. But don't get out of bed till you find yourself in God's presence. On some days you will find that it is very natural. You wake up and so clear, God is here. Very natural. On some days, and many days for most of you, I've heard this report that the mind wakes up. As soon as you wake up, it starts to attack you with things to do and troubles and things like that. So it wants to own the day for you. You see? It knows that the day is starting. If you start with God, then its reign is in trouble, its control is in trouble. So it starts to attack you first thing in the morning by telling you things to do and things of the world and how you have resentment towards people and they have resentment towards you and these kind of things. So, especially when you are caught up in all of that, you must not leave your bed till you come to God. Because you will trouble yourself and you will trouble everybody around you. So even if this means that you spend the whole day in bed, even if this means that you spend the whole day in bed and just before it is time to go back to sleep, you got the darshan of God for just one moment, that day would be much more worthwhile than spending a day subservient to the mind. And even if you seem to have accomplished a lot of things in the world. So this is a tip I have for you. Spend the day in God's light. And throughout the day, you will notice that the mind tries to take over again. Let go of that. Let go of that. And all of you have now been in satsang so long, you have many tools to bring you back to presence. In this way, in this simple way, you will live God's life. You will live a worthy life. And for those of you who feel that God's light is not palpable, God's presence is not apparent, then you must continue to deepen in your self-inquiry, deepen in your surrender, devotion, humility, faith, truthfulness, generosity, contentment. Humility is very important. Integrity is also very important. This will make you open and empty, and your mind's invitation will not seem that attractive. How many of us feel that starting right now, at least you have a deep intention within you to live this life in this way? How many of you feel that the intention is there, but the execution is very difficult? Okay, I want to see these carefully. Execution is very difficult, or well, let's go with very difficult. How many on Zoom? Very difficult. Okay, very few. The deep intention is there, and most of you don't feel it's very difficult. More here in the room, maybe that is also telling me something. But what about it's not very difficult, but it's not easy? It's not easy. How many of you feel that it's so simple, I'm already doing it? If there's anybody here who does not have this intention at all, even in spite of my prodding and my pushing, then I must inform you that maybe you're in the wrong place, because I have nothing else to really offer you if you don't have the intention to live a life for God. Yeah? Um, then I don't know what else I can say to you. But for all of you that have this intention, and whether you find it simple, very difficult, you find it absurd because you don't even find this presence, whatever the condition may be, my life is for all of you. I'm here to serve all of you, and I will fight for all of you so that the gift that has been given by my Master's grace here, I also want to ensure that all of you find this, and whatever guidance, whatever presence, whatever is needed fully is here for you. Some of you are saying that it changes moment to moment. Yes, sometimes it feels very easy, sometimes it can feel very difficult. Some of you may want to say that it's easier in Satsang, but in the marketplace of the world, it doesn't seem that easy. I understand. That's fine. That's fine. And some of you are not able to place also and say, is it easy, difficult? You can't really say. But I have told you the one condition that is needed for it to become more and more natural, and that condition is for you to be empty. All the satsang, all the words, all the instructions, guidance, sadhana, everything is meant to bring you to this emptiness. And emptiness is a conceptual emptiness. Lack of interest, attraction to the mind's invitations to make yourself better in some way. Don't make yourself better in any way. Empty yourself. Empty not because it will make you better, but empty because God. Empty because God. Not empty for enlightenment, not empty for freedom, not even empty for for absence of suffering. Just empty for God. You're emptying the cup so that God can be filled in the cup. See? So don't try to make yourself better. If you're listening to things, if you're listening to guidance, spiritual teaching, notice if you become more full or empty after that. And that which gives you more conceptual understanding, let go of that. Many of us are addicted to spiritual gathering, spiritual concept gathering. We want to become spiritual encyclopedias, believing that the more we know about spirituality, the deeper our relationship will be with God. But this is not so. By all means, listen to whatever is on offer with every culture, every tradition, every religion has something beautiful to offer. But it must lead to you becoming empty, you're humble, full of faith, full of integrity, not special, proud, a knower of great things. That is not what spirituality is for. The same for our spiritual practices and sadhana as well. If any of you is doing any of these, notice whether you find yourself fully open and empty, or is it egotistical? Are you measuring the time spent on it? Are you wanting to get better and better? Don't have these kind of benchmarks. When you are dead to yourself, and I'm not talking at all about the body, but when you are dead to yourself in terms of self-concern, self-interest, self-will, then you are empty. Live as if you are dead. I used to feel, and I asked many times also in the past, that after spiritual conditioning, the strongest conditioning in Sangha members was about relationships. About relationships. Is it still like that? How many of you find yourself getting caught up inwardly in thoughts about relationship? Okay, the most. Okay, so relationship. More than money. Who have money as number one? Money is more than relationship. I had one boy, very sweet boy in Satsang with me one time. So he stayed for a couple of years. He was in Bangalore. And very sweetly, he was sitting next to me one day, and he reported that as he was sitting so close, it was as if he had swallowed truth serum. So then he started speaking, and he said, "Father, just make it so that I have a lot of money." So I said, "Oh, but the other day you said you want relationship more than money." So this boy said that, no, you make sure I have enough money, relationships will come. So you have to be true to yourself in terms of what is the theme of the mind which seems most attractive to you. And expose these things in your own light, and if you like, in the light of satsang as well, so that you notice the absurdity of what you are attracted to versus what you are giving up for that. A life of comfort, material comfort, but a life with no God is not a worthwhile, is not a trade-off which anybody can ever recommend. It doesn't mean that you have to live a life of no material comfort. I'm just saying inwardly be a sadhu, outwardly, and don't use this as an excuse because only you can check on yourself inwardly. Outwardly, you may be King Janaka or a beggar on the streets, but you have to be truthful about this. You cannot just have lip service to these things, but actually be attached to a life full of material comfort. Yes, both ways, desire and aversion. So one says, this is a good one actually. She says relationship, but not wanting a relationship, but wanting the family to leave me alone. Many of us can relate to this. Many of us can relate to this. But don't waste your time thinking about these things. You can pray on it, you can let go, give it to God. Make everything about God. And whether you say God, you say Guru, or you say self, in this context, it doesn't matter so much. But find that which you can surrender your whole life to. To paraphrase a very old saying, you have nothing to lose but the faults. How many of us cannot give up on our spirituality for God? It sounds like a strange question. But if God said that I will be with you, but you have to let go of your spiritual knowledge or spiritual experiences or spiritual specialness, whatever, how many of you would hesitate? So notice that the spiritual aspect of your identity can be very attractive and it has nothing to do with God. And only that spirituality is worth it, that which makes you empty. If it returns you to the innocence of a child, then that is spirituality. If it makes you all like, I know my stuff. Ask me about the Gita, ask me about the Bible, ask me and I'll tell you. And if you start speaking like this, that, oh, Krishna said in this verse, so therefore I'm right because Krishna said, Nisargadatta said, you'll find this in a lot of chai shops in Tiruvannamalai and places like that. There are a lot of people here full of identity around spirituality. So save yourself the trouble. That has nothing to do with the true God, the true self. You cannot bypass this emptying by filling yourself now with spiritual knowledge and pretending as if you live in God's light. If it makes you innocent, if it makes you humble, if it deepens your faith, then it is useful. If you think you know something, if you think that you are better than others, then it is not serving you. One says insecurity is the problem, Father. Yes, my dear, I understand insecurity, we can feel that. What will happen to me? But I'm telling you that the ego, the false one, doesn't have any control anyway. It is just pretending to drive this car, but it is a non-existent driver. You have to take that risk. Sometimes, one more thing I want to tell all of you before we move to the next question is that don't expect spirituality to be easy. Don't expect spirituality to be easy. If in the letting go of the false, it feels that your life is ending, accept that. If it feels like it is the strongest burning that you're experiencing, but in your heart you know it is good for you, go through that. Many times it doesn't feel like it is a bed of roses to find God. But even if it is the most difficult path you'll ever walk, the end is still much more worthwhile than going through worldly difficulties for worldly things. Sometimes coming to humility can seem very difficult. And we don't even realize how special we think we are. So when we are confronted with that, it can feel like we are burning. This burning is holy, it is auspicious. The false is burning, the truth cannot burn. If you found God in your heart, but you had to live your life on the streets begging for food and your body being contorted in so many different places like Ashtavakra, would you be up for it or not? Good. So if you're up for it, then don't let these small things, who said this to me and who said that, and why don't people respect me and all of these things, don't let them bother you. And one report is pray to God, there is no annoying preaching here ever. Good. There's no annoying preaching. May there be humbleness and fumbling over words, but living in God's light. Very good. Very good. Very good. Same here as well. Bless you. Next one says, did you go through these things, Father? I don't remember what things we were talking about, but I went through extreme stupidity, like extreme specialness, extreme stupidity. I used to think it's very valuable that I can parrot the words of the gurus that I was with very effectively, and I used to think that that means something. You see, people used to tell me even those days, how are you so evolved at such a young age? Of course, now nobody says that, but in those days, how are you so evolved? You're only 25 and look at you, what the things you're saying. You see, and I used to have this demeanor of outward humility, but inward specialness. Then through grace, that which I was deeply attached to in terms of work and building a very large business, all that got started to get burnt down. There were lots of troubles in the world, court cases, police cases, all kinds of troubles by evil people around us. But that was such grace, because many of the things that I say, like I say, you may have the greatest knowledge, but when life squeezes your throat, that knowledge is the first to leave. That is from direct experience. I've had experiences of that where I could say all the right things, but when life was slapping me around, all forgotten. Spiritual knowledge is the first to go, usually. So, a lot of this I went through here. That was beautiful grace. I'm so grateful that all those things happened. And we can never really say that it is done, because if there is more, because we don't know our blind spots. We don't know where we are still arrogant. We don't know where we believe we are still special. So may grace continue to make all these circumstances to keep this one a humble servant at God's feet. And may all pride be chopped away swiftly, in spite of how deep the intensity of the burning may seem. I feel all of us can look back and be grateful for it. But may we also learn to be grateful for it when it is happening in our lives presently. You're typing from there? My observation of this awareness for this present moment is complete. Nothing to create or recreate here. It is fully complete. Now, is there one who can claim ownership of this? Is there one who can claim that it is my observation? Contemplate on that. Okay, let's go to Aniku, and also Marisa had her hand up with a question. Is still alive?
Thank you. Thank you, Ananta-ji. I just would like to share. Can you hear me?
Yes, my dear. I want to check one thing, which is that, is my audio sounding better? That my throat seems to have perked up a bit with this tea?
For me, it's good.
For you, it's good? Okay. Was it as good in the beginning as well?
Yes.
Okay. So then I'll have to ask another one, but okay. You can.
Can I speak now, Ananta-ji?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. I just would like to share with you what is the card of the mind using against the light of God in me mostly, and just give me so much fear all the time, and it's always the same. It's not about specialness mostly or relationship or money, but about this bodily life is going to be taken away before I could surrender totally to God. And for this is giving me so much stress and fear, because I always feel I have no time, and
Yes.
I don't. Yes, yes. This is.
So now is the time to surrender. What stops you? Why stress about it? Just surrender. I have given you all the tools. All the guidance you need is with you. Just surrender now.
Yes, I can surrender it now.
But
yeah. So when I wake up in the morning, this is the first thought all the time. I have no time, and maybe today I will die unfinished, and I will get a new body, a small baby, unconsciously, blindly going through a lots of years and years until I find somebody like you, or maybe not, or this kind of thoughts is, and in a way I can believe these thoughts because this can happen like this, and and it's so much scary for me, because I was waiting so much for you and Guruji for the truth. I didn't know what is. I was just looking for something and running all in my life, and And it is a kind of real fear. Then I can use the truth with the body.
Yes.
If the body goes, I will forget, and maybe I will never find you anymore.
Yes, my dear. So, you have an affliction of what I used to refer to constantly earlier. I haven't referred to it recently, but you have an affliction of the checker guy. The checker guy uses what it hears in satsang to trouble you with it. So it uses what it hears in satsang to trouble you instead of to free you. And that is why it is my arch nemesis in that way. That whatever I may say, the mind can also use to trouble you with it and oppress you with it. Whereas what I'm saying to you is to transcend all of this, to transcend the mind. So what I'm saying to you now is that can you live in God's light, in God's presence your whole life?
I want.
What stops you from doing that, from living that way?
The thoughts.
Yeah. What stops you from letting go of the thoughts?
The thoughts itself.
It cannot. No thought is that powerful that it can force your belief, force your identification.
Because I give the power of these thoughts.
Are you fully empty, or are you attracted to your spiritual identity that when the thoughts are about spirituality, they grab you or they seem to grab you?
Yes. Yes.
So I want to tell you that there is nothing special in your spirituality.
Maybe this is a kind of security, like I want to be sure I will be okay. Yeah.
There is nothing special in your spirituality. How is that received? And I want to tell all of you, there is nothing special in my spirituality. There is nothing special in your spirituality. We are not better. We are not worse. We are nobody. We are nothing as far as spirituality is concerned. Unremarkable. How is this received? We can be open to this. We are unremarkable, not special, mediocre at best. Then the mind's invitations of spiritual greatness or progress or anything will not have such a hold on us. You don't have to become special. You don't have to become better. You just have to be empty. And you cannot measure how empty you are. You just have to be empty. There are people who are standing upside down in freezing cold in the Himalayas with no clothes on for God. What are we doing? What makes us so special? Nothing. Just grace. All we can do is be empty. Rest is His grace. I can never make myself deserving for God. I can never make myself entitled to God. I can just die to myself, be empty. The rest is up to God.
Thank you, Ananta-ji.
Yeah.
But I feel it's just maybe too easy for the mind. And that's it.
Yes. It is ungraspable to the mind. It's ungraspable. So you live in God's light moment to moment. That's all you have to do. It's not your business to be concerned about what the future holds, what your next life will bring. Yes, if there is urgency, then that is good. But don't use that urgency, the concepts of urgency to postpone. That is what your mind is getting you to do. There's no time, we have no time, what's going to happen? You see, the same things that I'm saying. But I am saying that so that you can drop into your heart right now. And this is making you think about these things more. You see? So this is very tricky from the mind. Very, very smart as well. But you drop into your heart, you live in God's light. Then it will have to find some new tricks for you.
Thank you, Ananta-ji.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's go to Marissa.
Namaste, Father. I came up because I feel I need to expose something more than anything. And it's about relationship. Well, it's with my mother, okay? And okay, I'll just explain something that happened this week, that it's just, I was in deep peace, in such a beautiful peace state, you know, after a beautiful contemplation. And I had to go over on my parents because my father had fallen down, you know, and well, a lot of things. Now he's okay, you know, but I have to go. And my mother, she has this tendency towards me that when I'm at the most peaceful moment, she comes and she wants my attention, and it's like poking, and she does not stop until she pulls me out, and I'm like, oh, I'm already in a shape, pulling her out and saying something just leave me alone, you know. And I don't know how to, and my peace, it's gone. I don't have that peace again.
It doesn't have to be mother, but could be any. How many can relate? And we get a call or something. So it's very, very natural. In this Leela, this is one thing you can say, nothing you can generalize 100%. But this, what you've exposed, is 90% at least.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make you feel a little better about that, because it's not just you, but everyone in this on this path God has designated a few button pressers, button pushers that, oh, there's too much peace. Go push. So it's good. Like Guruji's trick story is very helpful there. What is our trick? Because there's really that another can do to pull us out. Because all of this is an inner game. But I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Is that I feel a bit guilty because I'm just like, I should be in a state of peace all the time. Maybe that happens at the end, right? So there is like some judgment that I'm not doing it well, but it's the doer, not my true self.
Don't even go for peace, although peace will be a natural byproduct of what I'm saying, but don't measure peace.
Okay.
Be dead to yourself inwardly.
Okay.
If you're dead to yourself inwardly, then anyone can say anything. They cannot, quote unquote, pull you out, as you said.
Okay.
So this is just a good experience for us to see that there are some buttons that are still there. And our job is to be empty to them, no matter how compelling they may seem.
Okay. Okay. And I used to be in a Buddhist center before, and when somebody was pushing your buttons, they say, give thanks to them because they are the jewel, so she's my jewel. Sometimes it's hard to see, but yeah. Okay.
I like this one. Thank you. Very beautiful.
Thank you, Father. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Samya.
Hello, Father. Love to see you again.
Okay.
It seems like no time has passed, Father. Like, yeah, we are again in your life. It's so sweet.
Before you start, I want to mention, and I haven't said this like publicly, but through my travels and through everything that has happened here, I've also been tracking the earthquake situation and things, and in my prayers, in my heart, with my blessings, all my love is with your country and with all of humanity in this difficult time. Now you get to your question.
Yeah, what to say after that, Father? Thank you.
You can take a minute or two and come back to what you wanted to share.
Thank you.
In the meanwhile, one brother said, Father, your daily prayer of the beggar servant is God's greatest gift and grace for all of us. Heartfelt thank you for that, beloved Father. Thank you. Thank you. Another one says, mind card, relationships, discussions, for example, about finance, makes me doubt it is, as if it is right to stay in this relationship. And fear to lose security. Mind can still get me stuck there. Very good. Exposing it is an important step. And may this become lighter and lighter so that you transcend it fully and it doesn't shake you from God's presence in your heart. One says, Namaste Father, I wanted to come today to see you, but suddenly I developed fever and throat pain. Please bless us to be in your presence. That's all I pray for, Father. Okay, are you ready to come back up, my dear, or should we go to Kate and come back to you? Let's say like this. If you're ready, raise on. Are you ready? No? Okay, we'll go to Kate. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I thank you. I just really wanted to come and yeah, I feel like you just spoke directly to what was arising when I first came, and yeah, just this struggle with the person and that reality of needing to do something and be someone, and just life being suffering in that, always tormented by that, and almost actually feeling guilty for that, and just really struggling even to expose that, because feeling like I feel this love for, God, something more,
Yes.
and almost feeling like failing, just, and then pointing to this exposing of spirituality as well, like the spiritual one. And yeah, it's just like, and it just made me realize I just really don't even know, like, and yeah, how spirituality has been something that's saved or helped my life so much, but then just so much confusion around what true spirituality is. And
okay, let's pause here because a few things are coming up to say, and then you can continue from there. So,
sure.
I want to first tell you that you are not feeling. Okay, you're here in Satsang. You're hearing what I have said, and I can already tell that you're hearing with openness. So you have not felt and you are not feeling. The question about what true spirituality is very simple actually. It is true spirituality is about spirit. It can seem very obvious, but what is spirit? It's just God's presence, Atma. So everything that is about your Atma, about God's presence within you, is spirituality. Everything that is still about me is not true spirituality. Even if it is about how I am getting better at spirituality, it's still not spirituality. primary in true spirituality is God.
Mm.
So this has been a very tricky turnaround, a very subtle turnaround which the mind has been able to do in humanity, which has been about spirituality being of service to us to make our life better. And I'll broadly,
Yeah.
although I'm not using it in any derogatory way, but a lot of new agey spirituality is like that.
Mm.
That's meant to help me, it's meant to make my life better. And if it's only true if I feel like I get these feelings, like I get more peace. So it's more me, which is a subtle trick, because the
Mm.
pointers may be similar sounding, but it puts the false protagonist back in the center of the narrative, and that can only amplify the spiritual ego and a self-serving sort of spirituality, which is about how can God help me. Whereas a true spirituality is self-sacrificing, is to become empty to oneself, is to die inwardly while we are still alive, die to the false, die to the ego, so that there is room for God's light. So everything that makes you empty is deconstructive, is true spirituality. So do you return to innocence after the spiritual whatever event, then that is true spirituality. If you become more special at the end of it, then that is not true spirituality.
Yeah. I feel like my heart has guided this without a teacher, a guru. But I feel like a guru gives this complete permission to, like, you know, the confusion of like, oh, the world's doing this, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But a guru is like this open door. But I feel like with the guru, it's almost like, I feel like there's almost this wanting approval, or instead of keeping it here, it goes out, and but then it also nourishes as well. And I guess maybe this is just more to be burned or something, maybe. Yeah.
Guru is coming from their heart, coming from their intuitive place. And without that, it is not possible to guide anyone. It is not possible to guide anyone because we cannot make a template or a doctrine out of what is being said. And we cannot say, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, like this, you can do this, because everybody's condition, temperament, state of mind, life situation, everything is very different. So sometimes the guru's expression has to chop, sometimes it has to mollycoddle, sometimes it has to love, and sometimes it has to be strong. Now, if there was a mind having to do this with everyone, it would completely fail. There would be no way in which you would be able to do it, or anybody would be able to do it. But a master just follows his heart or her heart moment to moment and allows things to unfold from there. And also without expectation really about how that is going to turn out. So, like, there are, I would love to say that everything that comes from the heart here is completely well received by everyone. But it's not always like that. Many times people have to leave satsang, they resist too much. So those things also happen. But it is only possible to share God's light from God's light itself. And that is why to Guru, to have a master, and especially a living master, is a great gift to us in this world. Because otherwise the mind is full of fantasies, spiritual story making, position making, all sounds very true and believable. So a master is very helpful because he has gone through, or she has gone through all of these things and can help you clean up. And I was sharing with some other children that the nature of the mind is to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So many times when you feel like you have to clean up, you'll say, no, everything, I'm going to leave Satsang, I'm going to stop everything. You see, that is, the mind can take these kind of positions. But the Guru can help you in terms of retaining what is valuable for you in the heart and chopping away at that which is becoming an obstacle for you. So at least here I have to say that having a living master is the greatest gift that I have ever had in this. It's the greatest privilege and gift that I have ever had. And without that, I was so lost in this world. So don't have to worry, because the one who is following their heart and living in God's light is the best guide for us, to guide us to that. Otherwise, we find it too difficult to distinguish between our mind and heart on many occasions.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Yes.
I feel like every time.
It is true that many times it feels easier, right? Like many of us sometimes wish that we had a dead master, because then there's no question of getting their approval, especially, or getting chopped by them. Those things are not. You can project onto a picture of a master who's left the body in some sense anything that you want, but with the one who is in front of you, an embodiment of God's light, you cannot project what your mind wants onto that one. So that can seem a lot more difficult at times, but it is still worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And with you, don't lose hope. And till this waking state is there, till our next breath is here, don't ever believe that you are failing. This is your opportunity. God is here with you fully. Like I said, anyone who has the intention to live in God's light for God's sake, I'm fully with them. Okay, go to Clarissa.
Hello, Ananda. It was like this, that it's hard for me to speak. That the situation was very, very strong coming. There are very strong forces in the head, and ego is very strong, and I'm always pushed in it, and I can see the light that is here, and it's wonderful to be in the contemplation room, and I can feel the space, and and the grace and the love that is there. And in the outer world, I'm so easily pushed in this, and all bad things are coming up, and it's hard only to watch. It's like I'm all in. I'm all in this crime scene.
Mm. I feel that you're doing well. Actually, I see you in the contemplation room often. I remember some reports that you posted on the group as well. So I'm not that worried. I feel like the mind can come and push your buttons from time to time, but you have a momentum deepening in your heart, and don't let your mind convince you otherwise.
Mm.
Doing well, it will offer up various things and various outcomes and imagery and crime scenes and all of these things, but don't worry about any of this too much. Just stay with God's light in your heart, and every moment is the best time to start. Don't have to resolve anything in the world. First, come to God. The mind will say, first resolve this thing. What is happening? It's so wrong. It's so unfair. All of these things, but no, nothing. First, come to God.
Mm. Yeah.
But it is possible for you to live like this. So I want to encourage, push, prod, everything, so that you don't give value to your mind's determinations and narratives, but you stay with what you are discovering in your life. Because to live a life in God's presence is a complete possibility for you. It's a complete possibility for you. Don't let go of that. Don't exchange that possibility for anything else.
Yeah, there are desires also coming, and I can see that there is
They will come. They will come.
Yeah.
Everyone. The mind will be active for everyone. But that's why I'm pushing so hard these days, that what are we exchanging for what? What can the mind desire give us?
Mm-hmm.
Versus God on one hand. On the weighing scale, God is on one end. What else can the mind put on the other end that it will become more valuable than God? What desire can it put? You see? So first it hypnotizes you with the lack of faith, which will tell you, no, it's not the God. It with the God. So then you say, okay, now I'll go for this worldly thing because who really knows? And maybe sometimes it plays with time, saying, God is not going anywhere. It is the eternal one. You can always find God. But this thing, this desire is only available right now. Don't fall for these tricks because this battle is for time. This whole game is about time. So like the child said earlier, the mind is using the same notion to oppress her, but actually use that to make this requirement to live in God's light the most urgent requirement. There is no time to waste. Death is coming. And if you have lived without God, then it has been a wasted life anyway. This is the moment to fix that. This is the time to fix that. not tomorrow. Don't waste your time on any selfishness, any desires. You have the power within you. And I'm blessing you as I say these words. When you do fall for them, if you do fall for them, then don't be guilty about them. Return to your heart. Because I promise you, true God and the only God there is within you. This is not just a romantic poetry or something like that. It's a true fact. And imagine us living our life as if we are a bunch of food, we are a clump of food who's going to die. What kind of life is that? So let go of the things of the world inwardly. Become fully empty to the temptations that the world has to offer. Because you cannot live under this temptation, under the hypnosis of the mind's temptation, and claim to be a servant of God. So let the mind throw its best punch, throw its biggest desires, but you duck by remaining in the heart. I'm telling you, my children, all of you, brothers and sisters, children, I want to tell you that there is no time to waste. Don't put off God till tomorrow. Stay with God now. Everything else is God's problem. Okay? One in the message says, Father, in my family, I am the younger son. And sometimes injustice in family presses me, but I may be less talented and less involved in worldly things. But many times, biasness in the family hurts deeply. Yes. Use these life situations, life events to find true solace, true refuge in your heart. Because actually you are the blessed one. In reality, you are the blessed one. If you had the darshan of God, what about if you had a moment of God's life and everyone else became the richest people in this universe? Who was truly rich? You bless them inwardly, remain empty inwardly. And outwardly, whether some things are said about this or not is not our concern. It is up to God's light how it wants to play in the world. But don't ever feel that you are missing out, because they are the ones that are missing out. All of what they have is dying. Death is coming to grab everything that is in our hands. We are going to go empty. So become empty now, before death comes. And meet God, stay in God. Don't worry about the trivialities of this world. You have been gifted by your true Father with God's presence. Value that more than anything else in the world. Okay, before we go to the last couple of questions, I feel to just do a recap of what I've shared today. I've shared with you that the greatest gift and the only thing that makes life worthwhile is to meet God truly, intuitively, in our hearts, in this life. Anyone who goes through life without this holy meeting has not led a true life in any sense of the word. So for those who feel that they have not had this true meeting, for which the only condition is that we become fully empty to ourselves, that we die to ourselves while we are still alive, because there is not enough room for both God and me. If we value me, we are rushing towards death. If you value God, that is the only hope of an eternal life in the holy light. So whatever gets us to this emptiness, we must follow our heart moment to moment. Come to the end of selfishness, pride, grasping, wanting. Be empty and meet God in your heart. Those who have met this holy presence within must dedicate their whole life to this. Inwardly, they must only care about God within their heart and let God take care of everything in their life. So don't start your day, don't get out of bed unless you're living in God's light. If you are under the hypnosis of the mind, stay in bed, because you will cause more trouble to yourself and the world. Your ego will cause more trouble to yourself and the world. One moment of God darshan in a day is much more valuable than 10,000 accomplishments in a worldly way. So if you carry this intention to live in God's light, to constantly be in service to God, then my life is in service to you. Because there is nothing I want more than to give all of you this gift. To spread this light, spread my Father's light in this way. If you find it difficult to be open and empty, then we must inquire, surrender, practice speaking only the truth. Be humble, full of faith, be full of gratitude, be generous. And you will find that the mind doesn't have the same attraction that it used to. In this way, your life can become a true life. This is true spirituality, which is not self-serving but self-sacrificing. So that is the main essence of what I've shared. Let's go to Samya. You ready?
Thank you so much, Father, again. So you are mentioning a lot about living in God's light. And I think we all know the value of it. Like, and as Marissa said, there are a lot of like forces when we are in our strength or when we are happy, these forces are coming and they are there, but I feel like at some point I just gave up, like I became angry or gave so much reaction because, yeah, I feel like at some point I just gave up because I was just came from Sahaja and it seems like no force was with me, but seems like life is always test. And yeah, at some point I said, okay, I'm done. And I don't feel like this urge or love for God just so in its full strength like it was before. But what happened with that earthquake situation also, it really shakes us all. And I feel like it's my responsibility to take care of myself first. If I want to help anyone at all, first I need to help myself. So it gave me like little bit light or power to again get up. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. Like some kind of unhappiness is just in my field, then I couldn't just shake it off. And yeah, I just wanted to bring it to you.
Yes. Thank you. Of course, my prayer and blessing is that you and everyone comes to this light while the light of life is still here, and you've seen with the events in your country that you can never predict how long this life is. I want to tell you one thing, that no mind has so much power that it grabs you continuously, even when it seems to. What it does is it says, oh, now you were just too caught up in the mind. The mind itself will say that. But everyone has room to be free from it for at least a few moments when we're not under the grip of this selfish mind. Use those moments to dive fully into God. Start with one moment. Start with right now. Then the next moment where you find that there is room, the mind is not that convincing for this moment, find God. The mind will tell you, no, unless you can do it all the time, there is no point. But I am telling you that use every moment that you get, starting now. God is here. God is here, yes or no? What is true in your heart? Is God here now?
Yeah.
God is here.
Father, God became same for me. Like God, I don't know how it is called.
Yeah.
God means pain for me. Like this is how it is here. So that's why I feel like I don't want God anymore.
Yeah, so all this, let's forget about everything that we've concluded in the past for a moment. Huh? So don't worry about any equation like that, what we have equated. None of that. I'm just asking whether you don't want to forget. Don't want to forget. Just trust me and forget all this for a moment. Just tell me if God's light is apparent to you right now.
I think I don't want to look in that direction.
Yes, yes. And that's why I'm prodding you, I'm pushing you. Because sometimes the child
Sorry,
doesn't want to, sometimes the child doesn't want to take the medicine which is helpful to them. You know? So the father has to push and say, come for a moment, come. Yeah? Come with me for one moment. You can go back to your stuff in 2 minutes. So right now you come with me. Because I see the struggle in your face, because the truth is apparent in your heart, but something wants to deny that so strongly and say no. But you can't get yourself to do that also. So you're really struggling in that way. Because you can't deny it also, you can't affirm it also, so you're stuck. So I'm saying, don't worry. It's safe to affirm the truth as you're finding it right now. Your mind will hate it. Your positions will seem like they are crumbling. But you must return.
Father, it's not about it's not about God in its reality, but how everything is here.
Life is it's very simple. Every moment in this life is very simple. It's either lived in God's light or in the mental hypnosis of the ego shadow. That's all there is. There is no other complication. Everything else is just thought, belief systems, thought patterns. So my job is to pull you in. I am the travel agent to God's light. That is the only ticket I have. You may want to resist it with all your might. You may say, no, I built a comfortable home with completely rational thoughts and conclusions, which are very true sounding in the ego shadow, which is actually a life lived in hell. You see, but I cannot stand my children living there. So I'm saying you come. Because you are open, I know you are, in spite of all your outer defense and denial. I know you are open in your heart. So you come with me to what I'm showing you. Let's try again. Is God here or no?
I don't know.
Are you here? Are you present? No?
No, I didn't say no.
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
I'm just
Resisting.
no, I just look while you ask. I'm just looking.
It's simple. No? Are you here? Are you hearing this voice?
Yeah.
That you that is aware of the perception of this voice is God. How will we deny it now? That awareness has a holy presence which lives within your heart, not your physical heart, but your spiritual heart. That pure awareness has gifted us with its presence. We must value that gift above all else, no matter how convincing the mind is. And now, no matter how much the mind says these other things are more important. Don't make that exchange, my child. Don't make that exchange. Because we don't want to imagine if God ever made that exchange.
What did you say, Father? We don't.
We don't want to imagine a situation where God makes that exchange and says, not you. Like we, not on purpose, but under the hypnosis of the mind, say to God, not you. But what if God said to us one day, not you? Would we be able to bear it? Would we be able to live? So why do we do to the Father that we don't want the Father to do to us? We must say only you. Only you. At all costs, even if it seems painful, even if it burns, only you, Father. Only you, God. Only you, Sadguru presence. And if you do it more when it is difficult, then the mind cannot bear. When child says sometimes it feels like God says not you. It feels like. No, it just thinks like. Because we want something else at it. It is unimaginable if God was to ever banish us from his life. Then all we would have is a zombie life. What a beautiful problem all of us have. God is here. And I'm pushing you all, stay with God, stay with God, stay with God. Huh? Suppose the discovery of God itself was not available to us. And all we had was a zombie life. Lifeless. Just flesh and blood. Just food. And we die. We are in a beautiful position with God's grace that we have God in our hearts, palpable, tangible, and yet we say, but what about this? What about that? Don't do that. With all my love, with all my authority, I want to plead with all of you, don't do that. Don't exchange true life for death. That you know better. All you have to give up is that who doesn't exist anyway. Your ego is non-existent. If you become the most special one in this universe, what are you going to get? They will build statues in your name, but your name itself will be gone. With all your might, fight on my side. Fight on my side. Because the world needs your help to shine. The best gift you can give the world is to shine. Don't fall for your mind's tricks and invitations. Very good, my child. Okay, last one. Let's go to Satyam.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Hello, Ananta-ji, namaste.
Oh, namaste.
So happy to be here with you. This is such a gift. Though there was the Mr. Commentator was saying, "Oh, you're not connected anymore, and you don't watch his videos anymore." And but what you are, I can never leave that. You can never leave that. I was watching today your video where it's a half an hour video on YouTube with
Yes.
and just few words of that this sense of presence does the body the proof is the body is enough, and just those words, and suddenly everything, just even 1 second of those words just changes the whole. So this is really and this strong pakad to lives, money, and body. I'm not saying that this is gone, but it's there. But there's a sense of whatever happened will happen. There's a sense of just this to feel what you are, to just sense what you are saying, just for a second to feel this is more than enough for this lifetime. So
You must now carry a deep intention in your heart to only live in God's light. And will take away all our time. My father was sending, he had breakfast He was sending WhatsApp messages till 12:30 in the afternoon. And by 1 o'clock, he had a brain hemorrhage, which he never recovered from. We live as if we are never going to die. But we need to remember that the mind is taking, minute by minute, it is taking life away from us, from a true life. So we must not fall for that trick. Every moment spend in service to God. Find God first. Everything else can wait. Live in God's light first. Everything else can happen within that. If it is good and auspicious, it will happen anyway. The only judgment about what is good is if it comes from God. All of you must come to this strongly, that your life has to become in service to God.
There's a in the physical world, there's the movement happening towards India. I think it's just another 3-4 months. And it was, if you remember, it was about the money. The mind was saying it's not enough, and that has left. Whatever happens, whatever they are giving here to leave, I will have no money, but they are giving some lump sum, so I will just come and be with my family. And it is not concerned whatever will happen. I have no. I'm just happy. So that has, and in your presence, this heart presence, which you are, this may stay in my life.
Very good.
So,
Very good.
thank you so much.
Etienne wants to play the flute. Can you just raise your hand, the Zoom hand? There. Thank you, my dear. Very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. Sadhguru Sri Ananta ji ki Jai. Guru Kripa Keval.